Already in the last hearing, the SEC has already come out with an opinion that chairmen who are foreigners, like in this case, a Chinese is a chairman, has no violation of the constitutional provision under Article 15 that it says there that executive and managerial positions are reserved to Filipinos. Clearly, the chairmanship is not a violation if you have a Chinese or any other foreign individual.
The Honorable Rodriguez manifested that the chairmanship of the board is allowed for foreign nationals. However, Mr. Chair, I am reminded by one important document that we are requesting from the N.G.C.P, and that is the shareholders' agreement.
Can you state your under oath that there is no possibility of interference from the Chinese in our operation, especially in the supply of electricity in this country, which was also stated by the chairman, no less than Henry C. Sr., that there is no possibility at all, and everything is fake news that the Chinese can interfere and can black out the entire country.
There's no possibility, Mr. Chair.
Will you have the peace of mind na ipagtiwala ang kaisa-isa mong national grid sa kaaway mo sa West Philippine Sea? What will happen to us if indeed this technology is under Chinese control and they decide to sabotage our country?
The Honorable Rufus Rodriguez. Silence is requested.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon to our distinguished colleagues, and likewise to our valued resource persons. I have just 4 points after hearing all the discussions. 2 would pertain to the Constitution. 1 is the quasi-judicial process of the ERC, and 3rd and 4th about some speculations. Let me start with the lower controversy. It has been, reported by the graphs and also from the reports from IMOP and also from Transco that because of the delay of the projects, our consumers are deprived of a lower cost of electricity. That has been pervasive in this discussion. That is speculative, Mr. Chairman, because there were delays, but there were reasons for the delays. And in fact, the DOE with our colleague has stated that indeed we cannot just directly attribute all the delays to N.G.C.P because there are, like as I've stated in the previous hearing, the Mindanao Visayas interconnection, problems of a golf course, TRO in the Supreme Court, problems of the right of way in Lanao. So therefore, it's speculative that if the projects were already implemented, then it will result to a lower consumer payment of electricity. So that's the first one. The second one is about the ERC. Have you already issued a decision promulgated on the regulatory reset of N.G.C.P?
Not yet, Mr. Chair.
Not yet. And yet we have here drafts of your decision. And I saw it, there are already signatures. And you publish that? My goodness, it is my first time as a practicing lawyer for 45 years that a quasi-judicial body will be publishing a decision, a draft decision, because precisely you are the ultimate decision maker and you are the regulatory agency. I cannot see any judge publishing what will be his decision and getting comments. Is this not that is that the procedure that should not be adopted? You collegially decide and then come out. After all, there are parties. The applicant is N.G.C.P. There are intervenors. So maybe know your answer.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Those were, the publication were part of the rules, and in fact, those rules were also subjected to public comments, and there were no oppositions to those steps. And Mr. Chair, just to clarify, this is not unique to N.G.C.P. This is part of the the rule-making process for regulated entities.
I think you have to revisit your rules. Look at it now. It's being used, and practically you'll be influenced when people will be knowing what you're going to decide on, and then be able to influence you. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair. We are open to influence by the public because that is the part of the process, Mr. Chair.
But other influences will not be from the public, but vested interest, Mr. Di Malanta. You see, there are some vested interests who are interested, in fact, in the N.G.C.P franchise. So therefore, you know, if you are questioning a judicial body, you're just like a judicial body. And you should be able, you should not be announcing everything first before your final decision. Because after the final decision, there can be the motion for reconsideration. So that is my take as far as your rules of procedure are concerned. Next, Mr. Chairman. We
Please
go
proceed.
now, so first, we have already, in the last hearing, it was clearly established N.G.C.P have paid all the taxes. It has paid all the taxes. BIR states so, ERC states so. Second, the N.G.C.P has complied with for the franchise section on public ownership. They listed a company which has 30% ownership there, corporation already listed. So the second issue, clearly, the N.G.C.P has rightly and fulfilled their obligations in the Section 8 and then Section 7 on taxes. Third, cross-ownership. Clearly, ERC Chairperson Mona said that, you know, the prohibition against cross-ownership had already been amended by the franchise of N.G.C.P. Now I go to new issues. Now, the next issue is, already in the last hearing, the SEC has already come out with an opinion that chairmen who are foreigners, like in this case, a Chinese is a chairman, has no violation of the constitutional provision under Article 15 that it says there that executive and managerial positions are reserved to Filipinos. Clearly, the chairmanship is not a violation if you have a Chinese or any other foreign individual. Now, what's being brought here is that the chief technical officer, question to SEC, are technical officers executive or managerial positions violating the Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. As to the duties of the Chief Technical Officer, it would largely depend on what is written in the bylaws of N.G.C.P.
N.G.C.P, did you not examine that and then you had a big decision? And you have certified that there's no violation?
We have no certification that N.G.C.P has not violated any constitutional provision. If I have to manifest that. What I have stated in the last hearing is based on an opinion by the SEC that was issued before, stating that chairman of the board may be a foreign national, but it has to be qualified that his duties will be limited to that of a presiding officer in board meetings.
That's correct. N.G.C.P, okay. Oh, you have secured all the approvals of this chief technical officer. Can you tell us which agencies has approved and has now no objection to your appointment of a chief technical officer who is a Chinese?
Mr. Chairman, the chief technical, well, all our technical officers at that time had to go through a gamut of applications for work permits and visas, work visas. We first go to the DOE to get their endorsement, and they will endorse the application to the DOJ, and the DOJ will cascade that application to the
To get that
BID.
endorsement from DOE.
And then the BID, after yes.
Yes,
But-
yes, for the record. The DOE endorsed your application, endorsed that position to be held by a Chinese, and then you can now go to the Department of Justice and the Bureau of Immigration, which I headed during the time of President Estrada.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. That's the procedure. And then they evaluate the functions that the technical personnel will be performing, and if they are indeed technical in nature, they will issue the permit for the technical personnel.
And were they issued permits from the Bureau of Immigration and the Department of Justice?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
For nobody has questioned these decisions of the agencies that are really looking into whether a position holder violates the Constitution or not. There was now no adverse decision of all the agencies of the government.
Not that we recall, Mr. Chairman.
Was there, because you supervise corporations, was there a complaint of any person against the chief technical officer holding this position that it violates the law?
As of this moment, Mr. Chair, there is no filed complaint regarding that matter, Mr. Chair.
And so therefore, once again, I'm saying that there is no violation at all. And so chairman can be a foreigner, chief technical officer can be a foreigner. Now it's clear. Now let's go to the most basic, the most important constitutional, what pervades the Constitution, and that is national security, Mr. Chairman. It is not mentioned in the Constitution, but in every section, every article of the Constitution, always national security. What is there is national territory, national development, and all of this. So then we go now to the issue of the Chinese with the N.G.C.P. Okay. So now, you stated, Attorney Sagayo, that indeed you have a memorandum of agreement between you and NICA, correct? And NICA, Mr. Chairman, is the primary intelligence gathering and analysis of arm of the Philippine government, carrying out three functions: overt, covert, clandestine intelligence operations. So we have to find out on this issue of national security, which is brought about during the last hearing and then now, that the Chinese are there, and therefore there is this is a question of national security because the Chinese interferes with the N.G.C.P, interferes in its operations, its decision making, and therefore if they are there, it therefore creates a problem on national security, and which all of us Filipinos will be against if there is any foreign power that will therefore make, decide on the fate of Filipinos. We will know now whether this particular, has the NICA found any violation of N.G.C.P in relations to these Chinese being there as technical or as board directors?
Before you answer, your 5 minutes up, but we will give you an extension because you're also a senior citizen.
Yes, I invoke
Okay.
that because otherwise
Okay.
there will be no equal
Okay.
protection of the laws.
Okay.
If you are going to
Proceed.
give
We will accept.
Congressman Marcoleta and not me. Thank you for the
Okay.
3 minutes.
Thank you.
Otherwise, you violate the Constitution.
Mr. Chairman, please.
Please, attorney.
No finding of any violation by
And-
NICA. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And since when did you have this memorandum allowing NICA to really go into the operations, go into the your distribution system and the influence of the Chinese in the N.G.C.P? When did you have that NICA agreement?
Mr. Chairman,
Please.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Prior
Okay.
to this administration, we had been allowing NICA, ISAF to inspect our facilities. During this administration of President Marcos, we entered into a memorandum of agreement with NICA. And also during this administration, we allowed them, Mr. Chairman, to hold office in N.G.C.P. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So you're saying
Proceed.
that NICA, Mr. Chairman, can I proceed? You're saying that the NICA is holding office right there in your premises.
That's what I said, Mr. Chairman.
Wow. And
Thank you.
also, you mentioned about the ISAP. Do you have also agreements with the armed forces of the Republic of the Philippines?
Mr. Chairman, with respect to the armed forces of the Philippines, we have agreements in the local level with respect to the protection of our facilities. And we also have an agreement with the armed forces of the Philippines with respect to reservists. We have reservists who are employees of N.G.C.P, who committed themselves to protect the transmission facilities. And Attorney Samboy here is a lieutenant colonel of the reserve forces of the armed forces of the Philippines. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So in all the operations from the time you started in 2008 up to now, has there been any derogatory report and you have been asked by the NICA, the armed forces, and all the intelligence bodies here that you have to be, there are violations in terms of possibility. We're talking about possibilities. Possibility of interference by these Chinese who are always intruding illegally in our West Philippine Sea, and which the Chinese has lost all 8 points in the International Arbitral Tribunal in Den Haag. Was there any to alert you? Because the NICA is the primary intelligence gathering and analysis of our country. Was there anything from the time you operated up to now that NICA has called your attention to violations?
Mr. Chairman, there's none. We haven't received any notice from NICA, from ISAF, that we are violating security measures and laws. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And my final question is to the President. President Anthony Almeida. You're under oath. Where is Anthony?
Mr. Almeida, please take your respective seat. I
Do
think
you-
he went to the restroom.
Yeah. Do you assure this august committee on committee on franchise, with our distinguished members here present and the valued resource persons, can you state you're under oath that there is no possibility of interference from the Chinese in our operation, especially in the supply of electricity in this country, which was also stated by the chairman, no less than Henry C. Sr., that there is no possibility at all, and everything is fake news that the Chinese can interfere and can black out the entire country. Can you say that categorically, unequivocally?
Mr. Almeida, you're under oath.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Yes, there is no possibility that, but as far as I'm concerned, as a Filipino citizen and as a reserve also of the armed forces, I categorically say that there's no possibility, Mr. Chair, that the Chinese can, yeah.
Thank you. And with that, Mr. Chairman, it is clear that the N.G.C.P has not violated any constitutional provision, and even the principles underlying the Constitution. Number
Thank
two, Mr. Chairman, it has clearly followed all the provisions of its franchise. Third, all that they have done has been approved by the ERC. The pass on of the franchise tax and all the cross ownership and also the public offering. So, Mr. Chairman, I do not see how we can continue with this hearing when there are no violations. Mr. Chairman, that is my question.
Thank you.
Would you again want to go delve on that when clearly the constitutional issues, the franchise issues, the speculations, Mr. Chairman, I think we should already adjourn and let's go to face what are the important bills of our country, like my intelligence bills, my anti-espionage bills,
Thank you
because
very
that will increase the penalties of spies.
Mr. Chair, with all due respect to my idol, Attorney Rufus Rodriguez,
Mr. Chairman, can I correct some of my answers? Sorry, with respect to...
Is that okay?
if okay with you.
Yes. Which particular answer do you want to correct?
Mr. Chairman, with respect...
The second district, the Honorable Luistro.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I remember part of my interpellation is on the SCADA and Nari. We've heard the explanation of the technical personnel of N.G.C.P. And having heard that Attorney Melvin Matibag used to be connected with Transco, I believe he's an expert witness or resource person as well. I wish to request Attorney Matibag to please enlighten us what is SCADA, what is Nari, and kindly correlate their significance to each other.
Well, yung SCADA po, thank you po, no? Yung SCADA is the system. Yung po yung, that's generic, yung parang yun yung, that is supervisory control and data gathering na ginagawa po nila. No? Yung Nari po, that is the brand of the equipment, hardware, software, na nilagay nung pumasok po ang N.G.C.P. Before that, ang nandun po is GE, tsaka ABB. Bago pa po lahat yan, bago lahat yung mga system na yan, nilagay nila yung Nari. Kaya yung pinag-uusapan natin yung problema ng China, kaya po lumalabas yan, kaya may suspecha tayo. Dahil, kagaya ng explanation ko po, ulitin ko po kanina, ang cellphone natin ito, iPhone, this is the hardware. But this is run by a software, iOS. Kayo po ba naniniwala na yung nilalagay nyo dyan, hindi nakikita doon nung gumagawa? Knowing that ang Nari is proprietary. May source code po yan. Kanina sinabi, nasa kanila raw yung source code. Parang yung election po, since mag-election, COMELEC may source code dyan. Nakikita ng COMELEC yan. Alam po yan ng COMELEC. Bakit nilagay yung Nari? Nung tiningnan po namin kung ano yung Nari, is a state-owned company of China na sila provider po ng mga equipment, as intelligence equipment, military po. Kasama po doon sa mga military grade po. In fact, when we do the research, lumabas sa website nila noong December 2019, lumabas doon sa website nila na sinasabi pa nila na 100% they control the power grid of the Philippines. Nung niraise po namin yung issue na yan, on the next hearing, wala na po yung website, binura na yung nakalagay na yon. Pero meron po kami noon. In fact, we provided the Senate. I think meron din pong kopya rito dahil nagiring din dito.
Attorney Matibag, if I may interrupt,
Opo.
that publication, correct me if I'm wrong, is the same printout that we flashed during the last hearing.
That
Do
is
you
correct
confirm
po.
that?
That is correct. Sa website po, lifted from the website of Nari.
So you confirm that from the website of, is it not the State Grid China Corporation's publication and not Nari?
Nari publication po yun, and Nari is a state-owned company, the same as State Grid of China, a state-owned company of China.
I understand. So Nari is a subsidiary of State Grid China
They are
Corporation.
separate company po. If we are familiar with the ownership sa China, alam nyo, mga state-owned po yan, mga government-owned. Parehas po sila. And when you research doon sa website, noon nga, sa website ng Nari, lumalabas doon, they supply military intelligence, mga equipment na parehas ng ginagamit po sa atin. Ngayon, yung pong data gathering, ang tanong ko nga, anybody can answer po siguro, educate me. Kayo po ba naniniwala yung cellphone nyo, yung mga nakalagay dyan na data, yung mga pinapasok nyo dyan, hindi alam nung gumawa nito. Hindi ba pag nalock nga to, pwede ka nga mag-message, sasabi ka nga ron, mabubuksan mo.
For the enlightenment of the Filipino people who are watching us, Attorney Matibag, you mentioned about iOS.
Opo.
No? So let me borrow your term. Would you confirm if I would say that Nari is similar to being the iOS of SCADA?
Tama po, kasi yung hardware and software, parehas pong Nari. I think they can confirm that. Ayun, sinasabi nila, nasa kanila yung source code. Then I go back to go to the next level. Sabi nila, may audit. Question, meron po bang cyber audit na naganap? Nandun daw yung NG.C.P. I know that eh. Kaya po sila pumayag dyan. They were ordered by the Senate at that time, papasukin, mag-imbestiga, pumasok. Ginawa nila yon, hindi kasama Transco. At my time.
Attorney, I appreciate your generosity of information, but
Opo.
let's do this one at a
Okay
time
po. Sige po.
for us to be followed by the viewing Filipino people.
Sige
This is
po.
highly technical and even myself find it really difficult to absorb.
Opo.
Let's start with, what does SCADA stands for?
Is the supervisory control and data acquisition.
How about Nari? What
Yung
does
Nari
it
po
stand
is
for?
A brand. It's a brand.
Yeah,
Parang
but it is an
iPhone.
acronym. What does Nari stands for?
Nari. Wala po sa website.
Anyone
nila
from N.G.C.P? Because according to you,
yun.
this is an equipment which you are using in the operation of N.G.C.P.
Nanjing Automation Research Institute.
Did you say Nanjing?
Opo.
Nanjing
Automation
Research Institute.
Opo.
Okay. Following your statement that Nari is the iOS of SCADA,
Opo.
would it be correct to say that this system can be controlled remotely?
100%
Similar
po.
to my Apple.
100% po,
Phone.
pwede. Because there was already, may nangyari na po na may nasira noon. It was repaired remotely. From China, hindi po kailangan bumahin ng technician para pumunta rito at ayusin pa yung nasira.
All
Nangyari
right?
na po yan, 2 beses na.
And considering that Nari originated from Nanjing, would it be possible also that somebody from Nanjing will be operating our system SCADA here in the Philippines, remote? The one operating is in Nanjing, and the hardware is here, the SCADA at N.G.C.P.
Very possible po with the technology now. 100% possible po yan. Kasi nangyayari nga po I will cite an example if you will allow me, ma'am.
Yes,
Sa Ukraine, twice there was an attack, cyber attack, sa power grid mismo. Nakapasok. Hindi po sila pumasok na may baril na pinasok pa yung control center and all. It was 3 days before na power up ulit ng Ukraine. And to find out, intelligence services noon, they found out na that is prelude already doon sa nangyayari ngayon na gera.
Kanina, Attorney Matibag, you made mention about the nature of this Nari, the company,
Opo.
that it has something to do with the military of China. Can you
Opo.
please expound on this?
Yun po yung sinabi sa website nila. Kasi they also supply military hardware.
In other words, the business of Nari is the supply of highly sophisticated
Hardware
technology,
and software po.
hardware and
For
software,
communication and data gathering.
which can be used as well by the military.
Opo. If you will allow me again, ma'am,
Yes, please.
Just recently, United Kingdom, they have 15% the equipment na Nari, they remove it
Why did they remove?
for reason of national security po. Example na lang po, hindi ba, ang Amerika, they ban TikTok. Bakit? Because sabi nila, they suspicion lang that is being used to gather data sa Amerika. Sayo nga po, nandun na mismo yung system, hardware and software. Nari, China. Nagpapatakbo, China. I might agree with Engineer Clark na sige, sa akin yung source code. Pero sino pa may alam ng source code? Tama po kayo nung sinabi nyo nung last hearing. The creature cannot rise above the creator. Tama po yun. Ako, I'm certain of this. Huwag na po tayo magtalo sinong mas Pilipino, tsaka sinong hindi Pilipino, sinong kampi sa China. Hindi. I'm stating kung ano po yung factual na nangyayari. And anybody can refute it. They may do so.
Mr. Chair, considering that the informations which are being shared to us by Attorney Matibag is indeed alarming, would it be possible for the committee to invite a representative from Nari, Nanjing Automation Research
Research Institute.
Institute? I believe this is a Chinese
Yes.
corporation.
Ma'am, if you will allow me, no?
Please.
This is really, ako po natatakot. Bumubulong nga ako kay Chair mo na hindi na lang yung pera yung pinag-uusapan natin dito eh. We're talking about our sovereignty. Sovereignty yan natin. And our sovereignty has no price tag. Hindi na po tayo kailangang lusubin or anything eh. Kalikutin lang nila yung power grid natin. Just imagine, anyone who's listening now, and anyone who's saying na wala pupuntahan itong pinag-uusapan natin na to, isipin nyo lang, 1 linggo, 2 linggo, 1 buwan wala tayong kuryente. Madali po yung sinasabi nila eh. Sasabihin nila, I'm guaranteeing it, I'm guaranteeing it. Pag nangyari na po, asan tayo lahat? Asan tayo lahat? UK made the move. Ako po, kaya ako nagsasalita ng ganito. My position before, I'm not talking about the commercial transaction na ng N.G.C.P. Okay na yan. May pera, may kinikita. It's good thing. One good congressman mentioned about the Maharlika Wealth Fund. It's a sovereign wealth fund. Ang tawag niyan, sovereign wealth fund. In fact, I'm writing an article sa dyaryo. Sinulat ko yan that we must support the Maharlika Wealth Fund and invest it in transmission. Kasi total, may 20% na dapat dinisperse to the public. The reason why hindi para kumita yung gobyerno, for me, but the reason is to protect our sovereignty. Para meron tayong magche-check man lamang. I mean, people na nandirito, mga taga-N.G.C.P, they're employees, they're officers. They're making their livelihood out of N.G.C.P. We cannot fault them for defending it. If I'm on their side, baka mas malala pa yung ginagawa ko. But now I'm standing here as a president of Transco, as an individual, as a citizen, na tinitingnan ko. What I'm telling you, totoo po yan. Kung gusto nyo, sama-sama tayo pumunta. Submit it to cyber audit.
Mr. Chair, may we ask the N.G.C.P if it is possible for them to provide us a representative from Nari?
Can reply. Attorney Paul, Attorney...
Mr. Chairman, can I pass the mic to Engineer Clark?
Mr. Chair, I believe that the question is answerable simply by a yes or a no, whether they
Yes.
will provide a representative or not, with all due respect.
They would like, the question is, can we ask Nari to appear before this committee? Can you help us?
I
To
believe we
answer
cannot-
some questions that the committee has, even in an executive session.
We'll try to ask our Chinese partners, but definitely, Mr. Chairman, at the moment, personally, I cannot. I do not even know a representative from Nari.
Okay, thank you.
Because this is a Chinese corporation. And chances are, the people in Nari are all Chinese people. And that's what make this situation so difficult for us Filipino citizens. Yes, Attorney Melvin, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, it defies logic yung sinasabi. I apologize, pero para sa akin, hindi ka tanggap-tanggap eh. Nari is a supplier. Ibig sabihin, contractor ng N.G.C.P yan. Hanggang ngayon, binabayaran nyo yan. Hindi naman pwedeng hindi nyo imbitahan. And they will say, kung hindi kayo mag-appear dito, tigil na namin bayad, kuha na kami ng iba na supplier. Ayun ko, I might be wrong. I will leave the better judgment to the honorable gentlemen and gentlewomen of this honorable committee.
Thank you. That's something that we will have to discuss and request. Because I think it does make sense that if they are your supplier, then for transparency, without going into issue of protocols, or then we can ask, because I think there are questions. May I know,
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I may, I think we need an answer from them. If
Congresswoman-
supplier nila talaga yung Nari.
Yes, Attorney Paul, they are your supplier, correct?
Yes, sir.
They're your
Na-
supplier.
Apo.
So, binabayaran niyo yan, buwan-buwan.
Sir, I would just like to clarify regarding the points being raised by Mr. Matibag. First, on the hardware,
Mr. Chair?
Nabayaran nyo ba buwan-buwan yan as a supplier?
Yes, sir. Yeah,
Okay, klaro tayo.
no, sir, not every month. Once they supply the equipment, the software, and then after decommissioning, full control and operation is with.
How about after sales service?
You have, sir, we maintain maintenance service agreement with them. So kung pag may problem po,
may ano pa yun?
pupunta
So may
sila.
relationship pa rin kayo?
Meron pa
Thank
rin
you.
po.
Okay, klaro rin.
Mr. Chairman, sorry again, no?
Yeah, don't
Pero
go to Mari.
I couldn't understand bakit ang sagot ni attorney, hindi niya kaya imbitahin. Meron palang working relationship sila.
Attorney.
That's why, with the answer of our technical partner, Mr. Chairman, we will endeavor that a representative from, if we can, Nari, will attend the next hearing.
Proceed.
Mr. Chair.
Before, kasi related to eh. Because I noticed the consultant for the regulatory reset of ERC are foreigners, but they are here. Hindi po ba Chinese New Year sa kanila? Hindi po. So, yun lang po. I just have to make a point.
Mr. Chair, we will go back to you, Attorney Matibag. But please let this representation continue with the interpellation. Kanina po nabanggit yung Senate hearing. Our resource person relayed to us that President Almeda made a testimony about the cyber attacks, whether it is against the corporate system or the system of N.G.C.P. I wish to be certain. The committee wishes to be certain. We have reports as well that in the same Senate inquiry, Transco consultant by the name Ronaldo Del Mundo testified that Nari is a transmission control operation of platform system which allows remote access. This is according to consultant Ronaldo Del Mundo of Transco. And to add, Mr. Chair, in the same Senate inquiry, the same Mr. Del Mundo testified as well that Nari is a computer control na pwedeng mag-switch on, switch off ng circuit breaker ng power plants. Mr. Chair, I wish to believe that the transcript of records of this Senate inquiry forms part of the public records. Therefore, Mr. Chair, this representation humbly move that we request for a copy of this transcript for all of us to be enlightened on the testimony that were given already by President Almeda along with Ronaldo Del Mundo, because these are under oath testimonies which should not be contradicted when they testify on a different forum or investigation. So, Mr. Chair.
There's a motion. Any second? Duly seconded. Chairing no objection. The motion of the Honorable Luistro is approved. COMSEC, please carry out the letter request to the Senate. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I recall likewise that during the last hearing, I manifested my desire to conduct an ocular inspection of this system control, which we allege as Nari until we are able to verify, of N.G.C.P. However, Mr. Chair, I found out from the records that since 2019, in spite of the regulatory power given to Transco, to ERC, wala pa palang nangyayaring system audit dito sa system control ng N.G.C.P. ever since. May we request a confirmation from N.G.C.P.? May we request President Almeda? Medyo nakakapagtaka na po, our President is here, pero mukhang mas knowledgeable si Attorney Sagayo. What does SGP stands for, with all due respect?
Attorney Sagayo.
Mr. Chairman, SGP stands for Synergy Grid and Development Philippines Incorporated.
Thank you, Attorney Sagayo, but I would prefer, I hope you don't mind,
I don't mind.
to hear an answer
But
from our N.G.C.P. President.
in the absence of President
Saan
Almeda,
po
I'm a
nagpunta si-
director of N.G.C.P.
Yes, for the information of everyone, he approached the chair earlier.
He left already?
Yes, because of another meeting that he has
Okay.
at 5 o'clock. So he had to excuse himself. Thank you.
With that, then, we will be pleased to hear your answer, Attorney Sagayo.
The question is whether, Mr. Chairman, I mentioned earlier that under the concession agreement 2.01, specifically Transco has no regulatory powers over N.G.C.P.
Are you trying to say, Attorney Sagayo, that there is no basis at all for Transco to visit and inspect the system control of N.G.C.P?
Mr. Chairman,
Is that your stand?
No, Mr. Chairman. As I've said, Mr. Chairman, earlier, they can always visit, but subject to certain
How about
protocols.
inspect?
No problem, but subject to
All right, so
certain
let me
protocols.
rephrase my question. Since the concession agreement in 2019, was there a time that the Transco inspected the system control of N.G.C.P? Yes or no?
There was an instance. I think.
Iba po yung visit, iba po yung inspection.
Mr. Chair, if I may respond, may be recognized po. Mr. Chair.
Is attorney from N.G.C.P?
Yes,
Can
Mr.
you
Chair.
answer the question?
As mentioned by Transco earlier, written into the concession agreement is an agreement by which Transco, together with PSOM, will form a committee for the purpose of inspecting both facilities and the books of N.G.C.P, and that is conducted annually.
By facilities, does it include the system control? The system control, attorney, I hope you understand. Very
Mr. Chair, I will have
sophisticated.
to, I think that the intention of that, I have to go back and confirm which facilities are covered by the TR flat.
I
But
hope
again-
we confine our answer, Mr. Chair, to the question whether or not the system control was inspected. I think this is self-explanatory already. And by inspected, I wish to believe, hindi po yan basta tinititigan lang. You have to allow the party to touch, operate, test. That's how we inspect, correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair, may I amend my answer a little? Sorry, I'm just going to add a little. The ERC actually conducted a thorough cybersecurity audit of N.G.C.P, including a VAPT. And that will, I think, address the concern, Mr. Chair, on not just looking visually, but also testing the ability of the systems to withstand.
Mr. Chair, was it the ERC which was mentioned by our lawyer from N.G.C.P? So may we hear a confirmation from ERC?
Mr. Chair, yes, we were able to, the ERC through consultants were able to do cybersecurity audit on N.G.C.P.
Were you able to
NGCP
rule
systems.
out the apprehension that this system control cannot be controlled remotely, especially those who are not Filipino citizens and outside our country? Were you able to rule that out?
No,
Yes or no?
No, Mr. Chair.
Because that is the danger that we are trying to avoid.
Mr. Chair.
Please let this representation continue. Likewise, Mr. Chair, in 2010, nag-issue din po ang DOE. This is Department Order Number DO 2010-080015, the title of which, Creating the Technical Working Group for the Audit of the National Grid Corporation System Operations and Metering Service Operations. However, based on reports, pagkatapos ng dalawang meeting, allegedly, the DOE was questioned already by the N.G.C.P at hindi na po natuloy itong system audit ordered by number 0015. Can we hear from N.G.C.P?
Mr. Chairman. Yeah.
Attorney Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our position had always been that under our concession agreement, it is the ERC that has regulatory powers over N.G.C.P, and that is why ERC is conducting several audits already insofar as N.G.C.P
Attorney
is concerned.
Sagayo, with all
Yes.
due respect, yes or no lang po, natuloy po ba yung system audit ng DOE?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Next
no.
question, Mr. Chair. In 2016, mayroon pong ERC Resolution Number 4, Series of 2016. This is dated April 5, 2016. A resolution directing the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines to procure an independent party to conduct an independent review of its operation system as system operator. Tanong po, Attorney Sagayo, natuloy po ba ito? Independent party, yes or no?
Can we No, can we check that ERC resolution? This is the first time that I heard that, Mr. Chairman.
But at least you can state for a fact whether nagkaroon po ng independent party provided by ERC to conduct the system audit.
The ERC is conducting audit. Now, on several fronts, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, since the answer of Attorney Sagayon is not completely responsive to the question, may I direct this question to ERC? Kayo po ba ay nag-engage ng independent party to conduct the system audit?
Not in the 2016 period, Mr.
In other
Chair.
words, Attorney Di Malanta, this ERC resolution number 4, series of 2016, was never realized.
That's what I was asking, Mr. Chair. That was before my time, but I understand it was not carried out either.
And Mr. Chair, to continue, 2017, nag-issue din po si DOE Secretary Alfonso Cusi, Department Circular Number DC 2017-12-0016, the title of which, Adopting the Guidelines for the Performance Assessment and Audit of All Power Generation, Transmission, and Distribution Systems and Facilities. Ito po ba'y natuloy, Attorney Di Malanta?
As far as I know, Mr. Chair, hindi rin po yan natuloy.
Having said all those, bakit po kaya hindi matuloy ang system audit ng N.G.C.P?
Mr. Chair, for the record, the ERC was able to do a system audit in 2020, kailan po ba yan? 2022 po. Yung mga nabanggit po na resolutions, hindi po yun na-implement for various reasons. I think there were some hesitation or reluctance on the part of the auditee.
On the part of?
Of N.G.C.P po.
Do you confirm that hesitation and reluctance on the part of the N.G.C.P?
Oh, which one? That we are reluctant.
Regarding the system audit, why this 2016 and 2017 orders of DOE, ERC were never pushed through?
Mr. Chairman, what we have been saying all along is it is the ERC that has regulatory powers over N.G.C.P. And when it was ERC that ordered the audit of N.G.C.P, we cooperated. Whatever documents that they required, we submitted.
Nonetheless, Mr. Chair, let me wind up on this. Since 2009, there's no system audit conducted which will rule out the apprehension that this system control of N.G.C.P cannot be controlled remotely. Second, DOE Order Number 2010-080015 regarding the System Operation and Metering Service Operations Audit was never realized as well. ERC Resolution Number 4, Series of 2016, concerning system audit was likewise not realized. And in 2017, DOE Secretary Circular Number 0016 was likewise not implemented. Mr. Chair, I'm stating a fact that since 2009, followed by 2010, and then 2016, and then 2017, there was never a system audit. The 2020 system audit that was shared to us by Attorney Di Malanta, per her own admission, did not rule out the apprehension that this system of N.G.C.P cannot be controlled remotely.